It's one of the most iconic moments in the history of golf. The locale, the 18th hole on the stadium course at the Players' Championship. The opponent had won 10 of his previous 16 starts. The golf world was looking for someone who could tame a tiger.
Be the right club.
And with a 6-iron from 179, the moment was born.
Be the right club.
Welcome to the Be the Right Club Today podcast, presented by Makefield Putters.
Be the right club today.
Now, here are your hosts, Hal Sutton and Mark Greenhouse.
Welcome back to the Be the Right Club Today podcast, presented by Makefield Putters. Hal Sutton back with Mark Greenhouse this week. Hal, welcome back.
Well, thanks, Mark. I'm glad to be back. I got through that root canal procedure and I feel a little bit more like myself now.
Yeah, the numbness in the mouth is what always gets me. I've only ever had 2 cavities, Hal. That's the only thing that I've had done to my mouth in 56 years of life. And, that the Novocaine they give you, it feels so odd as it's wearing off. So I can't imagine being in a root canal situation for that long.
Well, you're a lucky man that you haven't had any. I've had a bunch of teeth knocked out when I was younger. I've been in the dentist office far too long. And this was no different than the others. It was a long procedure, mouth wide open, Novocaine. Glad it's over with.
Well, I still actually have 2 baby teeth, so that never had adult teeth to push them out and replace them. So I've always felt like at some point they were either going to get knocked out or they'd just, give up. and they're hanging in there so far. So you never know. One day I keep telling my dentist that I'm going to go for the world record for somebody having 2 of their original teeth. So we'll see how that works out for me.
That just probably doesn't happen very often, I wouldn't think.
I want to say I looked it up one time, and there was a person that was like 90 something years old that had 1.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So I got 2, so I'm going to go for the record on that. So We'll see.
All right.
See if I can hang in there.
All right.
You didn't get to with your root canal. You didn't get a chance to talk U.S. Open with me. So we are going to talk about Wyndham Clark going to wire to win his 2nd U.S. Open, and basically being rooted against for the entire, I would say, Saturday and Sunday, his last 36 holes. So we're going to break down how he managed to pull that off and talk about the fact that he actually had a 6-shot lead that disappeared as he was trying to close this thing out. And then at the end, we're just going to touch on, I want to get your thoughts on this new PGA Tour system where we have a championship and a challenger breakout of the PGA Tour. So we're going to get into all 3 of those things as we get through the podcast tonight. So we'll start with Shinnecock and how the big question is, like I said, we had Wyndham Clark really getting rooted against. We've had people that have talked about in the media and other people talking about why should we even go back to New York after the way that the fans acted at the Ryder Cup and that the way that the fans acted against Wyndham Clark. How do you feel about that? I mean, the Ryder Cup was a separate thing, but I think, people were rooting against him, but I don't really know if it went over the top to start that conversation.
Well, first of all, I'm a traditionalist, and I hate seeing people rooting against anybody, people applauding a bad shot. I like the respectful galleries, and golf is. I know how hard golf is, and we all hit bad shots, and I'll say this right now. I think one of the most respectful crowds I ever played in front of was Muirfield Village in Ohio. It seems, and that's, the Champions Tour is in Columbus right now. And that may be because of Jack Nicklaus, but they're respectful traditionalist when it comes to golf. And that's the kind of crowd I like. I think the younger generation now is they like things different, I mean, it's science, it's I believe it's art, but they think it's science. It's numbers. We just got a different people that are watching golf now, and
It's a social media thing too. I mean, you don't see this happening at Augusta National. And part of that may be, you got to say at least 50% of that, it could be more than that, is the fact that there are no cell phones out on the golf course.
I would say that's part of it. I don't know if Augusta, vets people that get tickets, but I do know that they see who has the number on the ticket and whether that's who they thought was there or not. So, they're paying attention to the people that are in the crowd at Augusta, and I don't know if everybody else does that or not. And I don't know. I don't like where it's gone, to be honest with you, Mark.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of people are taking the opportunity to be that person or those people that make the noise and do the rooting against, and then they post it. And I think that's maybe where the problem is coming from, is that maybe they're really not rooting against, maybe they heard somebody root against Wyndham Clark, and then it became let's see how many views I can get if I do this. And, are we at the point now where the major championships all need to take a look at, do we just ban cell phones out on the golf course and roll from there, or somebody's going to have to test it out and see how it works? Because, like I said, you don't get those selfies or the booing at other venues such as the Augusta National where there's no cell phone. So it could be something that comes up, and it could be something that gets looked into. But on that side, have you ever been a part of either being the one people are rooting for or the one people are rooting against down the stretch trying to win a golf tournament?
Well, yeah, I have been. Fortunately, I wasn't the one that people were rooting against. Interesting story. In 2000, when I beat Tiger, it got rained out on Sunday afternoon, and I had him 3 down, and he drove it way right on 12, and I was in the fairway, and they blew the horn, and we went back in, and we didn't get to go out that day. It rained 3 inches that evening, and we're going to go back out Monday morning. And I get in the van to go back out, and Tiger gets in behind me, and he grabs my shoulders. He kind of clamps down on my shoulders. He said, "Man," he said, "boy, are there a lot of rednecks out here right now." And he said, "They are all pulling for you." Anyway, so he felt it,
Yeah.
and I guess, I wasn't paying any attention to it. I was having to take all of the faculties that I had to try to hold him off. But, yeah, I guess I was part of that. So I felt it there for him.
So that begs the question too. I mean, when you were out there and your playing partners, did you prefer, because sometimes, we know Tiger really didn't talk to anybody if he was in contention or on the weekend or in a major championship. We saw Rory a couple years ago with Bryson at the Masters. Bryson basically said he didn't speak to me the entire round. Rory's like, "I'm not here to chit chat. I'm here to win a golf tournament." What was your feeling about that? Did you like guys that talked? Got like that guys that didn't talk? I mean, back in the day, you had like Chichi Rodriguez and you had Lee Trevino, and then you had a Fuzzy Zeller that always seemed like that they had a comment. Then you have other guys that don't say a word. Is there a happy medium? Do you like it one way or the other?
So, early in the tournament, it seemed like everybody was a little bit chattier. Mm-hmm. I say everybody, the ones that didn't mind talking. Early in the week, I don't mind talking, as you either play yourself into contention or you play yourself out of contention. You probably talk less if you're in contention, and you talk more if you're not. And, you don't get that many opportunities out there to try to win a golf tournament. So you're concentrating pretty hard when you're in contention. And, I mean, it's not that you don't say anything, or it's not that you don't talk. It's you're crossing every T and dotting every I, and, going back and forth over what you're trying to do, making sure your numbers are correct. So, yeah, I think it has a lot to do with how you're playing.
And then the flip side of that too is that you have Wyndham Clark. We all have it documented because when he won at LA Country Club, we got a story about his struggles with his anger, and the teachings and the trainings and the things that he was trying to do, and he lost control of that. For the last couple of years, it seemed like he destroyed the locker room at Oakmont. And I think that's where a lot of the fans' ire came from, especially the New York fans. If they get a hold of something, they're not going to let it go. But hotheads on tour, is it hard to play with guys? Or if there've been guys that you don't have to name names, but just guys that had explosive personalities that got mad and it can impact your playing partner sometimes too. I think
it can, and yes, I played with people that were hotheads and got out of hand and. I had a conversation with a couple of them, one in particular. I won't name any names, but, I just said, look, if I ever see you do that again, rest assured I'm going to be the guy that turns you in. And I happened to be a younger guy, and he hit the ball a long ways, and I said, you've got the world by the tail, and you don't even know it. You're acting like an idiot out here, and you're hurting yourself and you're hurting everybody else. And, I feel like fellow players have to sometimes be the cop, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And I kind of was, if somebody got out of hand, I didn't mind saying something to them about it. And, I had early on in my career, I'll tell this story, I'm going to back up for a minute. I really liked everything that Brandel Chambly had to say about how the tour, our era, I mean, he's one of from my
right.
Era. Our role models were Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus, and you never saw them make fools out of themselves out there. And they were always very respectful and everything else, and that's who we idolized. And, the younger generation have looked up to Tiger and they let things fly that they shouldn't let fly, and more often than they should, which is if it's once, it's more often than it should. But early on in my career, I hit a shot one time that flew all over me, and I took the club and slammed it in the bag. You know how you stick the shaft into the bag, and I just slammed it into the bag. And didn't say anything. Freddie, my caddy, had his fingers on the bag like this, and it hit him in the finger. And, he did his best to not show anything, but, he lost his nail over it. And, I felt like a heel. And it was probably a great lesson for me because, that really wasn't me, and I shouldn't have done that. And no one saw it other than Freddie and I, but it taught me a real lesson.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we did see Tiger get angry, but I think Tiger had the ability to get angry in the moment, and then it was over. We didn't see him throw clubs. We did see him, I don't know if I ever really saw him take it out on a tee marker or anything like that, but there was a quick anger, and then it was over, and it was on to the next shot. And I think that's, maybe a lesson. You either, I've said all along, I think Ludwig Oberg has a great personality. You don't see him. I mean, he's rinsed a couple balls, in contention in a major championship on a Sunday, and it didn't get much of a reaction out of him. So I think that, once he does break through, I think the floodgates will open. So I look for guys that have that ability to hit a bad shot, and even if they do get a little mad, can they move on? And some guys can't move on.
Well, yes, but what everybody has to remember, I mean, you said Tiger got initially mad and then moved on. Well, whatever that initial mad was, there was 100,000 kids watching it.
Yeah.
And, I don't think, I was on the board when Tiger came out on the tour. and I was 6 years on the board. And first time Tiger said the obscenity at Pebble Beach, I was at a board meeting the very next 2 weeks later at Toronto, and I wanted to know what the consequences were. Fine. And I mean, I asked the question, and I didn't get an answer. Tim said, we don't tell anybody what we find anybody. And I said, well, I need validation. I said, y'all been preaching to me that image is everything under the sun, and I'm walking these fairways here, and I'm trying to make sure that I don't do anything to damage the image of the tour. And I said, I need validation. I got to keep walking these fairways and doing this. And I said, I believe that consequences have an effect on everybody. Well, we don't tell it. I didn't get anywhere with it, And if they fined him $5,000, which I think that was the usual fine at that time, he spent that much on dinner last night. So that's not a consequence, in other words. So. Anyway.
So, Wyndham Clark winning his second U.S. Open, obviously being the guy that everybody was rooting against. I mean, can this be something that maybe helps him settle in? Or do you think he may still be on that roller coaster of emotions that he seems to go through?
Well, I mean, he ought to feel pretty darn good after winning his second U.S. Open. You never know how it affects people, Bryson has won 2 U.S. Opens, and he hadn't performed since then. So, of course, he's playing LIV, and my contention with them is they don't play often enough to be sharp all the time. So, I don't know. We'll see what Wyndham does. I think I do believe in forgiveness, and he says he's sorry and that he's changed, and hope that he has.
Before we get into the actual golf course itself and the setup, because I want to talk to you about that as well. He had a 6-shot lead. What's the number? We've seen guys, that seem to hang on to a 3-shot lead, but 6 and 7-shot leads seem to be harder for some reason. What's the mindset? Is it too conservative? Is it that you get a big lead and you change your mindset, that you're just trying not to lose it instead of trying to win it? What's your thought on that, on these leads that keep getting blown?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that are going on. Let's talk about the chasers first. They got nothing to lose and everything to gain because they're 6 back. So they step on the gas as hard as they can step on the gas because they know that they have to in order to get back in the tournament. Then the leader, he doesn't want to make a mistake. So he's probably playing more conservative than he was, leading up to that point. And, you got 2 people going opposite directions, which is a collision. I mean, they're working on a collision. And you saw that happen there. Of course, Shinnecock, it doesn't take much to get a foul there. It's a hard golf course. They widened the fairways, so they opened it up for the big hitter. They still drove it in the rough.
Yeah, they did. So let's talk about that. I mean, it seems like this is, for me, the 3rd time in a row at Shinnecock where there's been too much, for me, manipulation of the golf course. And I go back to the fact that, these guys were playing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in a certain set of conditions. And then, I was watching a featured group. I was watching Brooks Koepka. Now, Brooks Koepka was the defending champion at that golf course for the U.S. Open. And here's a guy that has played 3 days, and Thursday morning, he is shocked at the first hole when his second shot lands on the green and spins off the green. Just shocked at how soft it was. And to me, that screams that the USGA, overnight changed the dynamic of that golf course based on what they thought was going to happen. And all I did is I think they opened it up to, lower scores. And it showed by the wind dying a little bit in the afternoon and those guys like Wyndham Clark lighting this thing up. And it's frustrating to me as a fan. How do you see it from a player's perspective?
Well, I wish they'd just let it be. And, they went there because of what it is.
Yeah.
Then they switch gears, and it's not what it was. And, so I'm kind of in the same camp that you're in. Just let it be. It is one of the great golf courses in America. And, it's tough. And everybody going there knows it's tough. And stop trying to accommodate it for everybody. Just let it be.
Yeah, the widening of the fairways, the softening of the greens. The wind was up, but that's okay. I mean, I don't know. As a fan, for me, I still like Kerry Hagen, the PGA Championship, but the U.S. Open is we believe is the toughest test in golf. It's supposed to be, and to me, you set it up the way that you want it to play, and then we as fans, it's like they don't get that we the fans understand. Like if you set it up one way and it's supposed to maybe rain one day and it doesn't rain and the golf course gets a little firm and fast, we get that. Or if it is supposed to rain a half an inch and like you get at the Players, you got 3 inches of rain and it gets too soft and the scores go down, we get that. We understand that. I just don't understand why the constant manipulation. Hell, I still go back to Augusta National this year, and I think they manipulated the course on the weekend because that thing was going to play really firm and fast on the weekend, and I felt like they softened it up to make what they thought was a better show. I still think the firm and fast would have been a great show on the weekend at Augusta National. So even they fell into the trap for me this year.
Well, Mark, I don't know how to say this. This may be another thing that social media has affected because not that everybody else, not that you or someone else, but the players themselves on social media, they don't want the criticism from the players judging how they ran the tournament. So, players have a big voice now. And, they cry foul. And then they don't want to see it happen, I guess another thing, hitting the moving ball one year at Shinnecock, the greens got out of hand there. And, they didn't want to see that happen, although that should have never happened then either. So,
no.
I mean, how about disrespectful there to the game itself? But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it plays difficult. It's going to play difficult. It's the same conditions for everybody. But, and again, I get it. Wyndham Clark shoots 6 under in the afternoon. I think, what was it? 3 under was the best in the morning wave. And, it's okay. It's okay if guys struggle. And for me, I think this is 3 in a row, to your point, at one of the great golf courses. This is a course that you've put in your rotation as the USGA, going back in 2033. And I feel like 3 times in a row, we've messed this thing up. And before that, it seemed just fine. So, it's like to the point where, we lost it one day. And then, we tried to compensate for that the next year. And then we lost it another day. And then we completely went the other way and allowed, Tommy Fleetwood to go out and shoot 63 and almost win the golf tournament. And I feel like we did a little bit of that again. Like we overreacted that the winds were going to be high on Thursday. So I feel like they saturated it Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And next thing you know, these guys are hitting shots that aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And you're punishing the players in a sense, because you're manipulating it from what they've played all week. I actually always used to joke how at the course I was a member at, where I still live at, but I'm not a member at anymore. They would play the club championship in October. And all year it's all zoysia grass and Bermuda greens, and all year you'd play, the greens would be rolling, at let's just say 10, and they get to October and they decide, well, let's take them down to 12. And it's like, well, we're not playing the same golf course we've played all year. And guys that are 0, +1, +2 handicaps are now shooting 75 and 76 because they're not used to playing this way. It's frustrating as a fan. I can't imagine what it is as a player.
So here's what I'll say. They're hitting 400-yard drives now. Fairways are 45 yards wide. They slowed the greens down, and they still didn't shoot any lower scores than what everybody was shooting at in the past U.S. Opens at Shinnecock.
Yeah.
So if they'd have left it the way it was, wonder what they would have shot.
Even, maybe?
Or over par.
Right.
I mean, how many was Wyndham, Clark, and was there anybody, and Sam Burns, how many were under par? And they were just
down. Yeah.
So had they left it the way it was, over par would have won the golf tournament. And I can tell you something right now, doesn't matter how hard it gets, somebody is going to hold up the trophy at the end of the week. Somebody's going to win it.
Yes, one way or the other.
Yeah, one way or the other. And you know what? And once you've won the U.S. Open, you don't care what you shot.
No.
So I don't know why they keep doing this. But anyway.
I'd say that for any tournament. Nobody cares. No, there's not a player that cares what he shoots. As long as he's holding that trophy up at the end, that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. I want to remind everybody about our title sponsor, Makefield Putters. Go out to makefieldgolf.com. They are made in the USA. You can do all kinds of personalization to them, but it's all about the technology, the radial cusp technology, the different styles, whether it's the mallet putters, the new blade putter. You need to go out. You need to get fitted for one of these. You need to find somebody near you that will fit you. You need to try one. You can. They have an online system that will help you get fit. But man, I'll tell you what. Hal, I played a little bit 9 holes last week, and I made some putts. Even on aerated and top dressed greens, I was still making some putts.
I seem to hit my line and keep the ball on the ground a lot longer. If I can figure out how hard to hit it, I have a real chance to make it. Makefield has given me a real chance to make it.
Well, there you go. I also want to remind everybody about Peak Vision. See like you've never seen before with the Peak Vision sunglasses. The difference is immediate. Get ready for the season and use the code GS15 at peakvision.com. And also a reminder to go out to BeTheRightClubToday.com. Check out all the different podcasts and go out to the store and get your favorite shirt, hoodie, t-shirt, whatever it is, hat, and you can get you on the hat, Hal, the Hal Sutton logo. I got one on the hoodie. Got the big picture of you right there on the hoodie.
Oh my goodness. On your chest here now.
On my chest. I'm gonna have, as it gets a little cooler out, I'm gonna wear that one time for you. So you can look at yourself the whole time we're on the podcast.
You hit at least 18 putts around, more like low 30s. So you better make sure you got the right putter in your hand. And I don't think people have spent enough time trying to make sure they have that. Hi, I'm Hal Sutton. 25 years ago, I had the right club at the right moment, and it made a huge difference. Today, I've teamed up with Makefield Putters. I now use the right putter today. You see, Makefield has unique radial cusp technology. The ball releases faster off the face and keeps the ball rolling more on its axis. The result is a straighter putt, more on target. When you get everything just right, the putter that fits you just right, the one that you believe in, your confidence should be oozing out of you. So I would encourage all consumers, go to the Makefield website and educate yourself and get fitted correctly, get the right putter in your hand, and there's hope for better putting ahead.
Golf is challenging enough. Between the sandbagging bandits, the wind, rain, and your homemade swing, it sometimes feels impossible. You need a legal 15th club. You need Peak Vision sunglasses. 4 to 5 hours of protection against glare and ultraviolet light with clarity as clear as crown glass. That's Peak Vision sunglasses, your secret 15th club, giving you one less obstacle to overcome. Just one try is all it takes, and the price is less than national brands. Use the code GS15 at at peakvision.com. Welcome back to the Be the Right Club Today podcast presented by Makefield Putters. Now, Hal, we've talked a lot, myself and Todd, and you and I have talked about the schedule. Now it's getting a little real. We have in 2028, we're going to have a championship series and a challenger series. Did you ever think we would end up with this on the PGA Tour? Because we've had, the Korn Ferry Tour, the Nike Tour, whatever it's been called back through the years, and the PGA Tour. We've had a feeder system and a major tour. Now we've kind of got something that's somewhere in between. Did you ever think that would happen?
Well, no, I didn't think it would happen. I don't even know what I think about it, first of all, because I'm not sure I totally understand it. And the one thing that I do understand is it looks like it's set up for the guy that's a great player, for him to be there for a long time, for as long as he wants to be there, basically. And harder for a guy to break into it, I think. That's what I've heard.
Does it maybe, do you think that the system has become increasingly less predicated on winning and more on just if you can top 20 that you can survive? I still remember, the great Payne Stewart talking about, that I think it was actually Jack that came up to him one time and told him that, you need to start winning more because, you can make a great living out here and you're making a great living out here, with top tens, but you need to start winning more. And he really took that to heart.
Well, it's been working that way for quite some time, with the purses getting as big as they are. You can make a really, really good living and not ever win. And there are guys that are journeymen. I don't want to call any names, but there's people that haven't won any tournaments out there to speak of and made $30 or $40 million.
Yeah.
And that's kind of ridiculous, to really be honest. And, it's promoting, in my opinion, with the purses being as big as they are, it's promoting not making any mistakes, not gambling, not trying to step on the gas to win the golf tournament. By, stepping on the gas, sometimes you make doubles and triples. So you don't want to, but sometimes you can play your way out of a tournament too. So I think it promotes conservative. That's what I think.
And for me, the number 90 guys will be, exempt into this championship series and I'm assuming that's going to be based on whatever point system we roll out for 2027, your top 90. To me, that's the problem. That's my first problem with this whole thing. We've always heard the top 50. The top 50 in the world can pretty much get into any tournament they want to get into, in the world rankings. So to me, that's always been a number. When you talk about traditionalists, to me, that's a number. For me, 50 guys seems like a great number. Let's for signature events, they went 50 guys. I never had a problem with that. Let's take the top 50 guys from the previous year. And, even to your point though, the top 50, number 50 doesn't have to win a golf tournament, probably may not even have the top 5, can do a lot of top 10s, a lot of top 20s, make a lot of cuts, make almost every cut, maybe get some backdoor top 10s on a Sunday, doesn't have to win a golf tournament. There's, 25, maybe 26 through 50 don't have to win a golf tournament, don't have to come close to winning a golf tournament, but can finish high enough at week in and week out to make that top 50. And I'm okay with that. But for me, it always felt like 50 was a good number. And if you're going to have a 120 player field, maybe you have a fall series that qualifies 30 or 40 guys, and their series may have a fall series that gets 20 guys or 30 guys, maybe 20. And then there's 10 extra spots for guys to go up and down. So I get where they're coming from. I just don't like the numbers. But again, if you're playing well consistently week in and week out, there's a reward for that, and I'm okay with that. But for me, there's too many of that number that can slide through without really performing well enough, in my opinion, to your point.
So I was just sitting here while you were talking about all that. In 1982, my first year on the tour, I flew out to play in the Bob Hope Desert Classic in Palm Springs. And honestly, I don't even remember if I made the cut or missed the cut. I probably should look that up just to see. But if I missed the cut, I lost money for the week. Mm-hmm. Because I paid Freddie, my caddy. I paid for my hotel room. I paid for my rental car. And, they got paid. I didn't get paid if I missed the cut.
Right.
So now a tour player gets his card, and I've been told they haven't put this in my bank account, but I've been told that they get $500,000 to start with. And I got nothing. Zippo. I got the right to go. I bought my yardage book. I paid for my range balls. I bought my half-price script to eat a sandwich. And I had a tea time. Mm-hmm. And I rented a car. Things have changed.
Yes.
And, I just, man, I know that Jack Nicklaus, before I came along, I know that Arnold Palmer thought, I know that I worked with Byron Nelson. And he, I never will forget, this is a true story. My rookie year, I was Rookie of the Year. I made $247,000. He wanted me to come to Preston Trail and work with him. And I'm sitting there, we would spend 45 minutes on the practice tee, and then we'd go in and have lunch. I went in to wash my hands when we were going into lunch, and I came back out and looked down at Mr. Nelson, alligator tears on his cheek. And I said, "Are you okay, Mr. Nelson?" He said, "Oh, I'm fine." He said, "These are tears of joy." He said, "Hal," he said, "you know what?" He said, "I won 19 tournaments in 1 year. My career earnings was $186,000. He said, "You just won more in your rookie year than I won in my entire career." And he said, "You know what?" He said, I feel like I had something to do with the PGA Tour's growth, and I feel like I had something to do with you being able to do that. So I'm just happy as a lark right now." So, it's always been going on. Mm-hmm. And I guess somehow we just have to, pray that the right things take place. I'm going to maybe say something that's a tiny bit controversial here. We got a guy running the tour now that had a great deal to do with the NFL. Mm-hmm. And I think the NFL fan and the golf fan is completely different. I may be wrong. They are moving towards being an NFL fan, acting like an NFL fan. But I just think the traditional golf fan is different. And I don't, do you think there's enough consideration of that?
Yeah. And for me, this whole thing is built on, the quote unquote getting all the best players to play all the time together. And, it's still not going to happen. We've seen it with the signature events that, the guys skip signature events. Originally it was supposed to be that you could only skip one, and then, and then you get fined or whatever it was. And I think Rory was the first one. He skipped two and took the fine. And, to your point, I make enough money to pay this fine, so I'm not going to worry about it.
Well, let me tell you about making all this money too. And swinging as hard as they're swinging. Their careers are not going to be as long.
Right.
And you're not going to get to see these people play as long because they're either going to get hurt or their pockets are full and they're going to go live life. And, it may be progressing just, and here's the other concern that I have. I'm going to stop short of saying what I was going to say. The sponsors have got to put up so much money now. And I've said this on here before. Used to, we talked about everything that charity was doing through the PGA Tour. And I don't ever hear the word charity anymore. Yeah. And, I worry about the PGA Tour because of these things. So,
Yeah, and less money to charity, more money to the equity fund. I mean, I'm sure you would have loved to have had part of an equity that these guys are going to get now with the amount of money that they're making and the amount that's being put aside for them. Because, again, you're Rory McIlroy. I mean, he's going to have an equity fund that's going to be, unfathomable for the average person. When he retires from playing golf at some point. And, again, it's the rich will get richer. But it is, I mean, there's still, you have to play good enough and you have to win these tournaments to get that stuff. And it's going to be based on how many tournaments you won. My big question about this, and I joked last week with Todd, is that, for the signature events, we had the Tiger exemption. It does seem like a lot of the sponsor exemptions and different categories of exemptions are going to go away. With this new championship series, it will be interesting to see if there is still the Tiger exemption.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, it will be. I think. I mean, I don't know. Tiger's not listening, and I don't. He probably doesn't care what Hal Sutton thinks. But I tell you something. I'm a fan of Tiger. I saw him play some awfully great golf. Firsthand, right there in the group with him. And, I think Tiger's problems that he's had is because of his desire to play great golf even now. Mm-hmm. And he's doing everything that he can to try to get his body where he can do that. And I think if Tiger just finally said, I'm going to focus on building golf courses and I'm going to give up. I am 50 years old now, and my body just can't do this like this. It's hard to accept, it's what he's done all of his life. I mean, I can't fully retire. I'm still doing things and working and everything else because I'm afraid of doing this.
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And, retirement is scary. I mean, I'm 68 years old, and I'm still doing the podcast. I'm doing things. And, for me to sit at the house and go practice or go play 9 holes or something and have nothing else to do, I got to have a purpose,
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing shakes out. I think we're going to get a new point system. We're going to have new sponsors. Like you said, the championship series, $20 million purses. The Challenger series has $4 million. You can say that's a $16 million difference. The way I look at it is there's going to be weekends when the PGA Tour is paying out $24 million in purses because there's going to be events going the same week. So, yeah, it's a big difference, but when you put it together, there's a lot of money that the PGA Tour is going to be paying out. And that doesn't even count the Korn Ferry Tour payouts that they're doing.
Well, even if you're in one of those events that they're paying $4 million, 18% of that goes to the winner, which is what, 1.6 million or 8 million or whatever it is. Big numbers, even if you're not in the big event.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how this works from a promotion and relegation standpoint. I guess, Roll-Ap's background, like you said, with the NFL and with sports. This is a Premier League soccer or any kind of European soccer model where you have, teams that, finish at the bottom. They get relegated and there's a second series and the teams that play good get promoted and they try and hang on for dear life the next year and stay in the league because it means a lot more money to them. So we'll see how this plays out. We'll see how the players react to it, but we'll also see how the fans react to it.
Well, that's the biggest thing, how the fans react to it. If they're turning on the TV and ratings are good, it must be the right thing.
Well, Hal, I'm glad you were back joining us this week, and we will close it out there at the Be the Right Club Today podcast presented by Makefield Putters. And Todd will be on with me next week, and I'll check back in with you in 2 weeks.
Sounds good, Mark. Always enjoy.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
The preceding episode was a production of Moonlight Media Works in association with Walk Marketing.